Can't tell if I'm live or not. Oh, I am live. Cool. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that's right. There are only two. To the Hero Hut's Jank Stand-up Comedy live stream. I should probably work on the title a little more. But today, to start things off spicy, I want to declare that starting now, I now identify as a woman. So I wish, and without any repercussions. That should be how it works, right? You're part of a group. You can talk light or dark of any subjects. So if you were offended by such a thing just now, I do recommend trying some lighter comedy. The safer comedies shows, I think, are the church comedy shows. I think they're every Sunday and Wednesdays. You're welcome to try those out. So if you're interested in shows and in between jokes, I mean, comedy is not that old, or I'm sorry, it's not that new. By now, we should realize that comedy can be light or dark. There are definitely some people who are more into the edgy, darker comedy. So you don't really think that just because you're into, if you're not into it, doesn't mean you have to go and tell everybody else not to like some comedy. And if you're really, if you're so, what's the word? I like going with weak. If you're so weak that you can't take a joke, that's quite unfortunate because you can really enjoy some good comedy going down that path. I'm sorry to say, you're not going to get very far. I like watching some news clips every now and then. I went to a recent one where this lady cop, this female cop, has quite a reputation among her colleagues in enforcement of. She had 6 incidents in 3 years. She wrecked, and I just don't understand how can you have somebody giving out tickets for not knowing how to drive to somebody who can't even drive themselves? I mean that's fairly contradictory, I think. That's like having is similar to just having somebody who works in the fire every now and often. But it's just not. It doesn't work out. And yeah, she totaled one car while damaging fairly some others. The last time she had an incident was kind of sad. All she had to do was go forward, leaving a parking lot, and she floors it going backwards and smashing into another police car. Then she was worth. But I hope things are going well for her. There wasn't enough female firefighters, which I can understand that. I do agree with that. There just aren't as many firefighter ladies. But I think for those who are basically knowledgeable of male and female bodies, it makes sense that there aren't enough lady firefighters out rescuing people. So she had a clip on her article about a lady who went doing tryouts for she had the minimum amount of gear that you normally would have. You have the heavy duty jacket, the pants, you have the oxygen tank. She didn't wear the mask. The door that had a fake wall. The wall wasn't really all that big. The point was to get through the door and move on to the next obstacle course. This door had some counterweights that after you're pushing it down and you get out of the way, it'll come back up. This lady couldn't push the door enough to get through at all. So after about 5 tries and getting worse after each attempt, she gives up and goes around the wall, I guess, going after the next obstacle. If you can't get past the first one, how do you think you're gonna do against the others? In your house or building burning, you don't want to be hoping that the firefighter that's going to try to rescue you is who couldn't do the training properly. And so this lady actually tried to make an argument for the standard of being a firefighter. Like, why would you want that? You don't want weaklings joining the firefighters. It's obvious to some. So some people may not agree, may not want to agree. Generally, and biologically, I don't agree. Some may not want to agree, as I said. But yeah, that's why you have. I understand there are some men who are weaker than women. I have at least two friends who are trying to, or I have two friends who are really thin. That's not their fault. It's just they may have just high metabolism. There could be medical issues, but they're not in. And so, and I, yeah, those guys, those two friends of mine, they're, you could say they're smaller than the average woman. They're at least thinner. There are some exceptions of some women who are stronger than the average man. But if you have two generally built woman and man, one woman, doing the same workout, she'll most likely tire out faster than he does, and he can probably gain more from he'll most likely gain more from that experience. And so you may not want to accept it, but really, like, this lady actually tried saying, you need to lower the standards for being a firefighter. You need more women in that workforce. That's not going to work. You're not going to have they don't want weaklings to join in, not being able to do the job that's necessary for doing these. She's gonna be You're gonna be on the other side of the door screaming for help, probably already passed out. She's gonna be banging on the door, not getting through, because by that point she's gonna have the oxygen mask, the axe, carry herself with all that gear, which I think adds about 100 pounds. She's not gonna be able, as why would you want that? She's gonna give up on you. She's gonna leave you there. But really, like, that's a terrible thing happen, but it's not something that should be encouraged. And speaking of rescuers, there was a girl with her who went to a lake with her friends on duty, wherever this was. I don't know too many lakes that do that, but there she was having fun with her friends, and eventually too much rough housing. She ended up getting knocked out, and she goes underwater, which that's definitely not a good thing to happen. So when as her friends were freaking out, the lifeguard immediately, he does his job. He gets in there, and he pulls her out. He had to go deep. She went down quick. So after pulling her out, doing his duty, CPR. Eventually, all the friends calm down for the day, and the party goes as it should. And a couple of days later, she ends up taking this guy to court for touching her without her permission. How are you gonna go and try to sue the guy who just rescued you? Her argument was that she felt molested, that he had put his hands on her without having asked her at all. What did she expect him to do while she was underwater? She was wait for her to wake up and then ask underwater, do I have permission to touch your body? Which probably would just sound like blah 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 to her. It's how did she expect that to go down? Was she actually trying to say he didn't ask me first before pulling me out of the water? What the hell? And I couldn't believe even more that all of her friends agreed with her, saying, "Yeah, totally sue him. He grabbed you. That wasn't right for him to do." That's just ridiculous. How can you? Her friends should have been happy that she was at least with them, if not for this guy. And somehow he ends up losing his job because this child, I think she was like maybe mid, no, she probably late teens, considering she actually put up a video trying to sound emotional that this guy had violated her while rescuing her. What else are you supposed to do? Like, her shirt or whatever she must have been wearing, pull her out? But it's just how can you be that narrow-minded and actually try to win the case like that? I don't know how that went down. Wish I had an update on that, but it's crazy. How can that have happened? But I'm sure more often than not, she ends up becoming a feminist after that. Speaking of feminists, I don't think feminists would be fans of the Spanish language. Spanish. I can't even speak it myself, considering it's supposed to be my native language. Whatever. Yeah, a lot of the language is very feminine and masculine, depending how you use what words you use. And I couldn't believe I ran into that this movement I didn't even know was going on until a couple of days ago. They're actually going to try to pass the word Latinx, which it's spelled like Latino or Latina instead of the O or the A. They put an X to make it unisex, inclusive, just to not have to say either or. You know how many words they would have to do that for the Spanish language? If pretty much not all of them when they're speaking about somebody. And even when it comes to objects, when you're talking about a color of a vehicle, you're saying negro for a car, and if it's a truck, you say negra. I don't understand it myself why it does that, but I know how to use it. So I'm surprised still that they haven't came after the Spanish language, but not that I really care, but really I actually want to see how that fight goes down. There's no way you can change the whole culture just because you feel uncomfortable with it. It's just not gonna work. Like I'm not gonna get behind Latinx. Screw all that, or is it Latinx? I don't even care. Uh, I I am actually, if this guy actually gets the feminists to go after the Spanish language, I'm interested in seeing what their argument's going to be to try to make everything inclusive. And I mean, it's crazy. How can they think that's going to work? And yes, when you're speaking to your elders, and when actually when you're talking about kids, when you're saying when you're talking about multiple kids, a group of kids, usually the male word for kids takes precedence. You say esos niños, um, while in English it's children, so it's a group. So unfortunately for them, the masculine takes president for president over the female word of it. So here we go. Here's some ammo for you, ladies, feminists. I know they're guy feminists. I don't know why. It's not like there's the opposite of that, masculinist. We're not trying to make everything male inclusive or exclusive, whichever the word might be. And just the other day, I also ran into another article where there's a gentleman who owns a bake shop who was this, I guess socially attacked might be the word for it. He refused to make a gay themed wedding cake or just a cake for a gay couple. So they decided to try to sue him. How is that going to work? First of all, it's a private business. He doesn't have to do anything. He can refuse service for whatever reason. And I don't know if he gave the reason or not, but I mean, obviously that was his view. He didn't want to make it. I think he made it public. Why he didn't want to make the cake? He didn't believe in gay marriage. That's it. That's his issue. Um, these people decided to go after him. Uh, so I don't know. I don't know how the trial happened. I'm sure he was fine. They tried to destroy his business. Didn't work because I found another article where these trans people were trying to get him to make a cake for whatever reason. And just the same, he refused and didn't want to do it. And so now they're after him again. Uh, First, because you just transitioned, wouldn't your baking skill points have increased now that you're the other gender and you should be able to make your own cake? Why the hell are you bothering somebody else? And I'm sure some of you are wondering, or man, that was sexist as shit. Well, here's the kicker. I didn't mention which gender was the one that was baking. So there you go. I like to bake every weekend. So that doesn't mean which gender can cook or bake or make any other kind of foods. I'm able to bake a cake. Why can't you make your own cake? Don't bother somebody else just because. Uh, I mean, yeah, you know what? That's it. Go ask somebody else. He's not the only baker there, probably. I don't know how big that town was, but why would you? I mean, that's one guy who didn't want to make your cake. Why would you have to just? Why do you have to bother him? You should already know his views on marriages that are out of the norm, I suppose, norm to him. You know, it's not what you know his deal. Why would you go after him, considering his rep? These people just wanted to go after him just to make themselves noticed. But some people are just weaker than others. Try. Once again, no sponsors, so I'm not gonna tell you what drink I'm having. Although you kind of just see my shirt, I'm totally sponsoring. No, I'm not sponsoring it, but I'm showing it off. I'm totally into Yu-Gi-Oh! So if you want to play, by all means, let me know. There's another group of people that really, really shouldn't get any recognition. But are there any flat earthers among these people that are currently watching this? I hope uh, I hope things go well for you. But besides the flat earthers, there is another group that exists just as long as they have since way back when. Yeah, if you think flat earthers are bad, just think that there are still people who think that the sun sets. It's really, really strange. Once I discovered the truth, I couldn't. I'm never going to use the phrase sunset ever again. I haven't done any research on it, but just like the flat earthers themselves, I like to call them sunsetters. Uh, these these people actually believe that the sun sets, but I think that phrase only came to be because they believed the Earth stood still and the sun would move across the sky and it would set. But all it is a point of view from where you're at. We know the Earth rotates, and aside going from obviously around the sun, it rotates on its own axis. So, if you believe the sun is setting, you're really just moving away from it. You're going along with the Earth. And for those who may have seen me mention this before, a couple hours ago, I actually figured out how to extend my daylight and how to shorten it, whichever one I want to do. There's one issue though. You have to keep moving constantly. If you are watching yourself rotate away from the sun, you want more daylight? Run to the sun or whatever means of transportation you get. As I still speak like a sunsetter, but if the sun is setting, which is not actually, all you have to do is travel towards the sun, and you have all the daylight you need. Coach probably pass out eventually from exhaustion. But if you wanted to go dark sooner for yourself, go in the opposite direction. Go tripping so hard when I told them that there is no such thing as a sunset. So if you want to trip somebody out, go ahead and let them know that a little bit. Speaking of people who will be tripping, or people I'm tripping over rather, there are, you wouldn't believe that they're in a relationship. Well, there are some guys who actually think about that, about having kids. But when I said having baby on their brain. I actually mean that very literally. I was freaking out about this article. I read a lot of articles. This gentleman had headaches for most of his life, and eventually he could no longer take the headaches. And when he was a minor, they didn't want to get him through X-rays. So eventually, when he got a little older, they decided to take him to the emergency room, see what's going on in his head. Why is he always having headaches? So this guy is shown the X-ray of his head, and turns out he actually had a, a baby. I guess you can say it's a fetus because it was still inside, but he actually had a baby in his head. It was the freakiest thing. I couldn't get around why how the hell did he get a? I mean, I don't want to say full grown baby, but how the hell did he get a baby in his head? It was the craziest thing. I don't know how many things went through my head. The first thought was that he probably he probably snorted jizz and eggs or egg and they let it all develop in his head. That was a really weird thought. That was the first thought I had. The second one was that the baby was already formed. It was small enough for him to snort that. That was just as bad a thought. Turns out this guy actually it was this is gonna get a little sad, but I didn't. Well, I'm already here. Might as well finish it, right? He actually had his own twin brother in his brain. At some point, while they're being developed, he had absorbed his brother, and the brother must have just grown at a very slow down rate, while obviously the gentleman matured fully, and I guess his brain kind of just it didn't expand as much, but it was all mushed under his brother, and eventually, I guess the brother something like that could have happened, but it's not the first I've heard of something like that. There was another. I've seen this one way long before this one, many years ago, where this guy was actually he um, he actually had his own twin brother somewhere in his abdomen area. Uh, Basically, it was the same situation. It said, yeah, it was down here, and when he went to the doctor, they pulled it out. I don't know why I'm telling you this gross part, but yeah, I mean, it was just a black lump of flesh. All right, I should probably get past this point because I'm actually grossing myself out. Doesn't help that I'm drinking. But there was, man, I keep reading into some really weird articles. There was another one where this, I don't know if there were a couple, but this one girl was actually trying to blame the Netflix company for her boyfriend, not boyfriend, friend, whatever. They were together and they ended up doing their business together. Eventually, when she gets pregnant, she tries to go after Netflix, telling them, "I only got pregnant because there was nothing good on TV or there was nothing good on Netflix. I'm not being sponsored by them at all." So, yeah, Netflix, if you want to sponsor me, by all means. Anyway, so catchphrase, quite literally. And so they tried going after Netflix to try to get money out of them. I assume for baby supplies. I really hope so. That's why. But how I don't know how they actually thought that was going to work. But I gotta give them credit. That's creative. I don't know why she actually. It's crazy. I mean, I would have surprised if it worked. But yeah, it was nuts. There were I had a I also read another thing where this girl was getting, or she had she was already together. She just delivered a baby. Both the husband and the lady were blonde, or are blonde. I assume they still are. And when the child was born, he had black hair, like It was nothing like either the parents. So when the father stepped out for whatever reason, the lady actually had the audacity to, I think I said that right, regardless. She actually asked the nurse, "Do you think he might have cheated on me? Because he doesn't have either of our, he doesn't have my, like how I don't know how she thinks genetics or pregnancy works at all. What the hell does it matter if he cheated? Now, I'm not supporting that, but whether he did or didn't wouldn't mean that she has a different kid. The only possibility that this would have happened, actually, there's a few possibilities. One is probably a family trait that the kid inherited from another family member. You know, some either the mom or the dad or the grandparents, or anyone may have heard that, asking if he was the one cheating, which resulted in the kid having different features than either of them, or rather than the dad. It was crazy. But enough of pregnancies. Uh, there was a in my family. It's we have we kind of have a mean looking face when we're in neutral mode. I guess you could say. I actually I have a there's a close friend of mine who I actually could have met a whole year sooner if he if we had talked the first time he actually saw me. Our biggest hobby together is this Yu-Gi-Oh. We like to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and so when we were in school, we were in an anime club after school. I had my cards with me, or we had our cards together, but I had mine out. I was just kind of looking through them, and so this is what he had told me. The year later that we met, he was like, "Man, I totally saw you at the club," and I don't know how I didn't notice him. He's freaking tall. He's a tall dude, and so he was like, "Yeah, man, you just kind of look like an asshole. I didn't want to talk to you. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing, but I really didn't think you would be as you are." But he wasn't wrong. He was like, "Yeah, I mean, you're still an asshole, but now I know you, so yeah, too bad. Too bad we didn't know one another. We would have been 1 year closer." So this is how to go about it. But it could have been the incident where some jerk actually. I was dating a girl at the time. Um, I was talking to her, looking this way, and out of nowhere, this pencil comes flying. Without looking, I was still looking at her in the eyes, and I just caught it right in front of her as it was about to hit her in the face. I actually surprised myself. I did that, but as I did that, the whole room went quiet from all the chattering that was going on at the same time. And as I was holding the pencil, I just looked over, and everybody was just staring at me as I was trying to find who was the bastard who actually tried to throw a pencil at my girlfriend, which would have hit her in the face if I wasn't, fast enough. Uh, they were like it was quiet. Like nobody was saying anything. I mean, they were just kind of either they were looking in the direction I was looking at, they were looking at me, and I don't remember if Daniel was there seeing that, but I guess I developed a rep from my stare down at trying to find who this jerk was. But yeah, it was something that my nieces, my sisters, my mother, it may have come from my mother that we have this, or rather my mother's side of the family, that we have such a neutral mean face. But it was interesting that this too I couldn't meet this friend of mine a lot sooner. Uh, but speaking of school, uh, there are some things that we miss out of it, don't we? Uh, we made some good friends at school. I would hope a lot of people did. But there was some things that you just don't want to remember about school. Is basically the anxiety of being lost, and the only thing I can think of is I can't. Uh, there was something I really don't like. When you're asleep, when you're sleeping, you want to relax. You've been at work all day, you've been at school all day. The things that really suck is that when you're asleep, and you obviously you can't control your dreams unless you somehow make it a lucid dream, which I'm trying to practice. A lucid dream is basically where you can control what you're dreaming. Uh, but unfortunately, this wasn't one of those. Uh, I didn't. Uh, I hate when you're dreaming. Doesn't it just suck when you're dreaming that you're at work and you're either working or you're at school? Man, it was a crazy dream. Like I was actually going to school, walked through the door, and I knew I was supposed to go to class. Didn't have my schedule. I didn't know where I was going, and the anxiety of being late on the first day. So here I am in this dream, walk to a random. It's the actual room I'm supposed to be in, and so class goes as it should, I suppose, as it would in a dream. I go into another class. The anxiety kicks in again, and sure enough, I make it into another class where I'm supposed to be in, and this goes on for the rest of the day. Get out of I get out of school, and I'm going home. Keep in mind, this is still me dreaming. As soon as I open the door to the house, my alarm goes off, and I wake up. So now I have to get up, but this dream ended up taking place. I don't know, 6 years after I graduated already. I wasn't even going to school; I was working by this point, and it's crazy how you don't know how if you can't control the dream, it sucks that you just got to play along with it. You basically, I don't know, in a movie or you're being a puppet to the dream. You can't control out of it, but you have the same thoughts that you would. And the same goes for working. I had a dream where I wasn't even at this job anymore in real life, but in this dream I was the waiter at an old restaurant I worked at. I was the only one working, and we were this has happened before. We were and being the freaking cashier and dispatching food, but yeah, it sucks. I worked all those hours, wake up, end up finding out I'm not from such a shitty dream. But yeah, you definitely it sucks having such a dreams. Uh, there was a I actually didn't plan on getting this far. You know, I did more stories than I figured I would. Uh, I'm gonna try doing at least 10 stories at a time. Uh, at least keep myself some kind of cap before I continue going further and want to give out all the details or all my stories too soon. And I don't want to make the videos too long. So I want to thank those who joined. Uh, Definitely, I was still a little nervous, not as nervous as I figured I would be. But hopefully, these videos actually get me uh, another show. Hopefully, I'm a little less nervous, and I guess the more I do it, the easier it'll get. But all right, well, thank you for joining the Hero Hut's Jank Stand-up Comedy show. We'll catch you next time.